You want the good news or you want the bad news? The bad news is you still haven't been drafted. The good news, 5 quarterbacks in NFL history drafted in the second round have gone on to win NFL MVP or the Super Bowl, including your most recent in Jalen Hurts. Maybe the carrot currently dangling out in front of Shedeur Sanders.
We all didn't expect this, of course, but I feel like with God, anything possible, everything possible. I don't feel like this happened, for no reason. All this is, of course, fuel to the fire. And under no circumstance, we all know this shouldn't have happened. But we understand we're on the bigger and better things. Tomorrow's the day. We're going to be happy regardless. Legendary.
All right, some words there from Shedeur Sanders after his disappointment here on day 1 of the NFL draft. Ryan Wilson, ran Carthon here to react and push it forward because the reality is exactly what he just said. He will have a team, and he now has a bigger chip on his shoulder to go do something at the next level. Rand, when you look at the possible landing spots for Shedeur now and we look at the early stages of that second round, what does it look like?
I think you still have QB-needy teams that entered day 1 needing quarterbacks that didn't make those picks, and you start with the Cleveland Browns, and we've talked about them sitting at 33 and 36. Could they do it? Possibly. And then you have the Raiders, because you traded for a veteran in Geno Smith, and why not have, if you have the opportunity to take a Shedeur Sanders and have him there to learn under Geno and bring him along, that's a good landing spot for him. And then the Saints at 40, we talked about them being linked to Jackson Dart and allegedly going to want to move up to take a guy, and now Shedeur may possibly be staring you in the face at 40. And I add, at some point or along this entire process, he's met with all 3 of those teams. And so there is some familiarity there. You're not just taking a shot on the guy just because he's there.
Ryan, when you look at Shedeur and all that he can be at the next level, the skill set that he does bring, and the words that he offers there in his moment of disappointment, how do you really sum up this first day of the draft for Shedeur?
You know, it's funny because you mentioned Jalen Hurts, and I think that's instructive on some level, because I remember the Senior Bowl that year ran where it was Jordan Love there, Justin Herbert there, and oh, by the way, Jalen Hurts was the afterthought, fair or unfair. And I think Jalen Hurts quietly went about his business, did what he could in terms of what he could control, got drafted in the second round, as you noted, Joe, and then the rest is history, so to speak. He's certainly been more effective over the course of his career than either the first-round picks or the Senior Bowl in that year, and I think that's the way that Shedeur and his camp have to approach this. You can't control anything other than once your name is finally called, and what are you going to do from that point on? And there may be conversations down the road about maybe Shedeur rubs some of these teams the wrong way, and he can use that as a learning experience going forward as well. Because, again, he's a young man. He's 22, 23 years old. He has a long future ahead of him. But it's important to learn from your mistakes in much the same way Jalen Hurts used that as motivation, not being a first-round pick, even though, as it turns out, he should have been.